approved today, then you move to the commission for final approval of your program. So any motion? I have member Hollis. I'm not eye contact all the way around.
I move to approve the report of provisional accreditation site visit for Gateway High School and the recommendation of accreditation.
You have a second on that, member Hall? With that, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Congratulations, motion carries unanimously. We wish you the absolute very best moving forward to the commission, and good luck in your future endeavors in moving this program forward like you have already done.
We are moving on to item 12. Item 12 is the discussion of the second quarterly report from CSU Channel Islands. Consultant Dr. Frances Keller will introduce this item. Joining her today are institutional representatives. Dr. Kathy Howard, Faculty Director of Clinical Experiences and Partnerships and Accreditation. Dr. Is it Jan Greer? Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Chair of Teacher Education, and Dr. Chris Yeager, Program Coordinator, Education Specialist Credential. Does anyone need to recuse themselves? All right, Member Hillis.
And we're waiting for Frances, who's at a site visit. So she's joining us from a site visit. Let's see.
She said she's on.
She said she's on. Maybe she should
ask her to raise her hand.
Can you raise your hand, Frances?
We see CTCs raising their hand. That's a good sign. Thank you so much for our institution for your patience with our timeline today. We apologize for the delay.
Oh, there she
There
is.
All right.
Thank you, Dr. Keller, for being here. All right, you are free to begin whenever you're ready to do so.
Fantastic. Good morning, committee members. Item 12 presents the California State University at Channel Islands second quarterly report. As a refresher, an accreditation site visit was held for the institution on October 5th through the 8th of 2025. And the report of that visit was presented at the COA meeting at its October 2025 meeting. Following discussion and deliberation of the report, the COA took action to set the accreditation status to be accreditation with major stipulations. One of the stipulations requires CSU CI to provide quarterly reports. This is the second of these quarterly reports. A link to the site team's accreditation report, as was presented in October 25, is linked on page 1 of this item. A link to the second quarterly report can also be found on the web page, or on the report linked on page 2. The 6 stipulations that CSU CI is required to address through these quarterly reports are listed on pages 2 through 3 of the item. As a reminder, some of the broader themes of the findings including the concerns regarding the institutional and programmatic structures of data and progress monitoring, design and implementation of a comprehensive continuous improvement process, and within the education specialist program, that new content, activities, assignments, and evaluation criteria have been added to address alignment with program standards and the teaching performance expectations. In this second quarterly report, members may take note of recent actions and development surrounding data infrastructure and a number of different committee meetings to support the continuous improvement process. Staff is recommending that this report be accepted as CSU Channel Islands continues its progress in addressing the stipulations in the remaining quarterly reports. And I'd love to turn it over now to institutional representatives with Dr. Catherine Howard to briefly comment on this report and the progress they've made up to this point.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. And thank you for your time today. Since our previous report, we have made significant progress on establishing infrastructure, systems, processes, and stakeholder engagement needed to address the committee's stipulations. We have new structures in place, including a unit-wide continuous improvement and assessment committee, finalized unit-wide and program assessment plans, and expanded advisory committee, and a new candidate tracking system, the PeopleSoft credential modification. Our education specialist program has developed new content, activities, assignments, field experiences, and evaluation criteria targeting the gaps in grades 7 through 12 instruction, case management, program delivery models, and disability profiles. We understand that the committee expects evidence of implementation and impact, which we are confident that we will be able to provide in our future reports.
Great. Do we have any public comments for this item?
There's no public comment.
Are there any questions or comments from committee members? Yes, Member Bryant.
First, I see the tremendous amount of work that you've completed since we met last. So there's a lot there. And it's very clear you've been working diligently on this process. I'm curious, to this point, what you've found to be of most value.
I personally, just from my own personal perspective, I'm really happy that we're developing systems for continuous improvement. Having that infrastructure in place so that it's not just an activity that people do because they're told to do it or because they know it's the time to do it, but trying to really create a system where there's more of a culture of continuous improvement so that it's something people want to do in order to be more effective in their roles. And so the committee that we set up and the plan, the assessment plan that we're working on is really aimed at ensuring that it's something that we're all engaging in together as a community so that we can support our educator preparation.
See that intentionality, and I commend you for building those structures in intentionally like that, as opposed to viewing this as a compliance activity. Thank you.
Yeah, that will really set us up to continue doing this into the future. And hopefully next time we have program review or common standards review, we'll be just reporting on what we're already doing rather than thinking about how we can address stipulations.
Any other questions? Yes, Member Cervantes.
No, I want to echo the comment here by Member Brian. Thoughtful progress update. Thank you for all the work that's gone into. I'll use the word infrastructure, a continuous improvement infrastructure, and hopefully you can own that with me because we're noticing several systems in place. But I did have like sort of that next level question on how are you ensuring that these systems work together as a coherent whole rather than just parallel efforts? And what I mean by that is there any early evidence that you can share on what's already informing decisions? Because back to the comment made, we don't want this to just become a compliance-based process or exercise. We really want you to do it with intentionality, learn from it, make sure decision-making is happening through data you're collecting, et cetera, and you're anticipating versus reacting, right, to what's going on. So yeah, how are you ensuring these systems work together as a coherent whole? I mean, that'd be great to hear.
Others might want to speak to that as well. I think that has to do also with clarifying roles and responsibilities within our School of Education so that we know not only that there's this system in place, but who within our system and how the roles work together, who would be responsible for ensuring that we're engaging in those activities. Jeannie, do you have something to say about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jeannie Greer, Chair of Teacher Education at Channel Islands. We have regular coordinator meetings, so we do have this system in place already of communication. Because our programs rely on each other, like for prerequisites or all of that, we are in constant discussion. And this whole activity has actually instigated our multiple and single subjects credential programs. to start looking at data and making changes, right? Things that weren't stipulations, but things that we can do to improve our student experience and meet those teacher performance expectations. And so I think our SPED faculty have really been spearheading a lot of this, but they've also inspired the rest of us to be taking more critical looks at this time to improve our programs.
Chris, do you have anything to add for the Ed Specialist program?
My main takeaway, I'm new to the university. In the past couple of months, I've been able to really collaborate with folks that I haven't had a chance to collaborate with before. So I think that's really wonderful. And I'm talking about folks from different departments, folks that are in staff roles. So I think those lines of communication have really opened up, and I've really noticed that.
I had a question about tracking candidates' competencies and performance and providing support to candidates. It says that you're continuing to make improvements for this, and you've identified people who will be in that support system. How do you plan on actually supporting them? What does that look like in action?
So that's a great question. What I've been working on up until now is sort of getting that system in place so that we have the information we need in order to understand how to support. We're a fairly small program. And we're small in scale. And so leading up until now, I think a lot of that support came through faculty meetings at the program level where faculty come together and really talk about each individual candidate and how they're doing in the courses and in their field work. But having a system in place where there's more information in terms of the TPEs and how they're doing in different areas of their educator preparation, I think we've been improving on that. And we do have processes in place for supporting the candidates. I'm wondering, Jeannie, do you want to say more to that about the credential programs?
So our main area of support is our student teaching seminar has really stepped in to be that valuable support system. And our seminar instructors are constantly updating their own knowledge and making us all aware. In fact, we have a teacher ed meeting next week where they're going to be presenting on some of the new TPEs, and they've already done stuff on just literacy and student assets, right? To get everybody on board that really we can all kind of chip in, and it's not on any one person, but those folks have been really the main supports for students, but also educating the rest of the faculty on those TPA elements that we all kind of need to chip in on. I don't know if that sounded right, but you know what I mean?
Thank you for that. Are there any other questions from the committee? This is an action item. Do I have a motion? Member Hollis.
I move to accept the second quarterly report from Cal State University Channel Islands.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Member Jones. Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. All right, the motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Howard, Dr. Greer, Dr. Yeager, and Dr. Keller.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you for all the progress that you've made. It's exceptional.
Thank you. Thanks.
We're going to move on to item number 13. Item 13 is the report of accreditation site visit to Garden Grove Unified School District. Consultants Dr. Susan Olson and William Hattrick will present this item. They're joined by team lead Lloyd Aqua and institutional representatives Michelle Pinchot, Director of Personnel Services, Catherine Kasuda, induction teacher on special assignment. Will anyone be recusing themselves? Bless you. No one's recusing. And again, to our institutions and consultants, we appreciate your time this morning and flexibility. We do apologize for the delay. Mr. Hattrick, we are going to move this over to you. So if you could please begin.
Good morning, committee members. I'm pleased to bring you agenda item 13 today, which discusses the site visit for Garden Grove Unified and their teacher induction program. This visit took place virtually from January 26th to 28th, and I really would like to thank the program leadership, especially Michelle and Kay, for their thorough preparation for the visit and their quick responses for requests for more information, organizing the interview schedule. It was really smooth. I'd also like to thank our team, Lloyd Aqua, who's on with us today, Kimberly Campbell and Elizabeth Steele. They also did a really thorough job of looking at all the standards, all the evidence provided by the institution, and interviewing a wide range of constituency groups. I'll add that I also had the good fortune of being their site visit consultant 8 years ago. It was actually my first solo site visit, and can happily report that the program is just as strong now as it was then. And many familiar faces now serving in leadership roles like the teachers on special assignment. So Loy, I'll turn it over to you now to discuss the findings from the visit.
Thank you, William. Good morning, COA members. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning. My name is Lloyd Aqua, and on behalf of the accreditation site team, which are Elizabeth Steele, Kimberly Campbell, and myself, we are pleased to present a report on the Garden Grove Unified School District Teacher Induction Program. I'd also like to thank our CTC consultants, William and Dr. Susan Olson, who provided invaluable expertise and professionalism that significantly shaped our deliberations. Before presenting our summary of our findings, I want to also commend the Garden Grove leadership and staff for their exceptional dedication and professionalism throughout the accreditation process. The caliber of their organizational skills and documentation directly reflects their commitment to excellence, ensuring a smooth and collegial review for both candidates and mentors. From the outset, the Garden Grove Unified School District's commitment to strategic pillars, academic skills, personal growth, and lifelong success was evident. Superintendent Maffey and educational partners underscored that the induction program is a cornerstone of teacher retention, fostering professional growth and supporting the social and emotional well-being of their beginning educators. To provide some insight into our thorough evaluation process, the site team conducted multiple pre-visit online meetings and email exchanges. First, we began by building camaraderie among the team and diligently reviewing the institution's program documents. Following independent report review, we formulated clarification questions. And for every question we had, the Garden Grove team was consistently responsive and prompt in providing necessary additional information. We systematically examined each comment and program standard, documenting preliminary findings and submitting additional inquiries as needed. Ultimately, we finalized their interview schedule to ensure that there was a diverse representation across all constituent groups. On-site interviews with program leaders, institutional leadership, candidates, mentors, and educational partners validated our document review. Candidates consistently praised the strong training, resources, and intensive support provided by the program. I want to highlight a distinctive feature of the Garden Grove program, and that is its strategic mission to cultivate a teacher base of homegrown candidates. This commitment to having instructional staff mirror the student population demonstrates a clear value for student-centered education, further evidenced by observed examples of leaders who rose through the teacher ranks. In addition, completers noted high levels of satisfaction with the program, one of them noting, "I always go back to the CSCPs and remain goal-focused in my instructional practice." Following our thorough review, we confirmed that all standards are met. I just want to highlight a few other examples of the program. There was strong, committed leadership District leaders exhibit a strong commitment to recruiting, supporting, and retaining high-quality educators. The institutional knowledge is compelling, and its support extends directly to the director, Michelle Pinchot, and her team of TOSAs and mentors. There is strong division alignment. Housing the program within the Personnel Offices Division ensures effective cross-functional communication among the hiring team, district leaders, curriculum directors, TOSAs, and mentors, along with the close collaboration of the instructional, student, and business services. There is also inclusive governance. The governing board maintains a diverse range of perspectives, including administrators, mentors, candidates, regional induction partners, and university representatives. This ensures that there is always a comprehensive program evaluation with continuous improvement. In summary, we found a highly effective induction program that strengthens teacher efficacy through job-embedded goal setting, inquiry cycles, and professional learning opportunities. Given the robust infrastructure and unwavering leadership commitment, we confidently recommend full accreditation for the Garden Grove Unified School District. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we now invite the institutional representatives to briefly comment about the visit. As a reminder, not a time to dispute the team's report, but rather to provide any other thoughts you have about the visit. Anyone from the institution?
Well, we would not dispute. I'm Michelle Pinchot, and we just want to thank William and for all of his support through the process. And it was a joy to work with Lloyd, Kimberly, and Elizabeth. They were very supportive. They gave us amazing feedback and asked us very. They challenged us with their questioning in order for us to, you know, to excel in the future as well, and how we could push ourselves going forward. So we had an amazing experience, and as mentioned, we have an incredible team of TOSAs that are behind the curtain right now watching, and a special shout out to all of them for their incredible dedication to the work that we're doing. So we
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
At this time, are there any public comments on this item?
There are no public comments.
Thank you. Opportunities for members of our committee. Any questions you have for the institution or comment? My only question is, it was definitely an amazing positive report, a lot of great systems in place. I noticed your enrollment doubled. So how are you going to sustain this when you have even more people in your program?
That is a great question. We've just been tasked with looking at a 2 to 5 year plan, knowing that we'll have a retirement bubble happening in about 3 years in our district. So we and working with Dr. Maffei are just currently starting to look at that now, and how we're going to include more mentors out in the field, because I think we all know adding another TOSA to our team is probably not going to happen. So we're going to be challenged with thinking outside the box on how we're going to be serving possibly up to 200 candidates in the next 3 to 5 years.
I think it's a reality a lot of districts are facing. So I appreciate the forward thinking on that.
Mm-hmm.
Also a motion, an action item for a motion. If any of our committee members have no questions, we have Member Hillis.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of accreditation for Garden Grove Unified School District.
Second, I see Member Jones. All of those in favor, if you could please say aye. Aye. Those say no. Congratulations to a full unanimous motion carrying forward and approval of accreditation for all of you and everyone behind the curtain listening. We wish you the absolute very best and keep up the hard work out there in the field. Thank you so much to Ms. Dakwa, Ms. Pinchot, Ms. Kasuda, Ms. Olson, and Mr. Hattrick.
We are moving on to item 14. Item 14 is the report of the accreditation site visit team to Humphreys University. Consultant Dr. Tim Weeks will present this. He is joined by team head Lori Kersey-Reed and institutional representatives Carrie Ridenour, Credential Programs Administrator Matt Reynolds, Provost and Dean of Graduate Studies, and Julie Porta, Associate Professor. Does anyone need to recuse themselves? Great. With that, good morning, Dr. Weeks. You may begin.
Thank you. Good morning, committee members. Item 14 presents the report of the site visit team to Humphreys University. This site visit took place from March 11th through 9th through 11th, 2026, and was conducted entirely on video technology via Zoom. A total of 96 interviews were conducted with various individuals throughout the site visit, and despite being conducted entirely online, the site visit proceeded in accordance with all normal accreditation protocols. I would like to start out by recognizing the amazing work of our team lead, Lori Kersey-Reed, on her inaugural site visit. I believe that her dedication to the process and her desire to get it exactly right led to a very successful site visit. And using the basketball analogy, I would say she did an amazing job on her first one with 7 standards and 9 assists. So good job. I would also like to acknowledge the hard work of our site visit team comprised of Joanne Iskin from UCLA and Dennis from Biola University. So also their dedication to the process, in addition to their lighthearted sense of humor, made them a joy to work with. And I would also like to thank the institutional lead, Katie Ridenour, for the amazing job she did in preparing for the site visit and her prompt response to requests for additional information, both of which were invaluable in helping the team prepare for and successfully complete the visit. And I'd finally like to thank Matt Reynolds, the Provost and Dean of Graduate Studies, who played a very instrumental role in preparing for the site visit. I'd now like to turn this over to Lori Kersey-Reed, who will present the findings of the site visit team. Lori?
Well, I was going to say good morning, and then I had to check the clock real quick. So yes, it's good morning to commission members and guests. It is my privilege to speak today as the accreditation team lead and to present the findings from the recent site visit to Humphreys University. First, on behalf of the entire review team, I'd like to extend our sincere appreciation to the university's leadership, faculty, staff, candidates, completers, and community partners. We are also grateful to the Commission for the opportunity to engage in this important work. Throughout the visit, we experienced a high level of professionalism, transparency, and collaboration that greatly supported our review process. Our team conducted a comprehensive evaluation that included a thorough review of institutional documentation, program materials and data, as well as interviews with nearly 100 stakeholders across the university community. This depth of engagement allowed us to develop a strong and consistent understanding of the institution and its educator preparation programs. Humphreys University demonstrates a clear and enduring commitment to its mission of providing student-centered, career-focused education. The institution's long history and its responsiveness to the needs of the region and the state are evident in both its structure and its programs. The team was particularly impressed by the university's responsiveness to the evolving needs of the state of California, expanding access through online delivery, preparing a diverse educator workforce, and ensuring candidates are equipped to serve the full range of students in today's classrooms. The team observed that Humphreys University has expanded access beyond its local region by transitioning to a fully online model, allowing candidates from across California to participate in the program. This shift has not only increased enrollment, but has also strengthened the program's ability to respond to the workforce needs across the state. We found that the university has established a strong and effective infrastructure to support educator programs. All common standards were met, including institutional infrastructure, candidate recruitment and support, course design and clinical practice, continuous improvement, and program impact. These findings reflect a well-coordinated system in which leadership, faculty, and staff work collaboratively to ensure program quality and candidate success. A notable success of the institution is its emphasis on candidate support. Across interviews, candidates and completers consistently described a highly personalized and responsive environment where they felt supported throughout their journey and well prepared for the teaching profession. In particular, current candidates mentioned they felt the programs often supported them, in preparing them for the realities of teaching with just-in-time support while being appreciated, respected, and heard. In particular, one candidate stated this program made it possible to pursue their passion and dream of becoming a teacher possible, while also stating that it was just the right amount of hand-holding that felt proactive and personalized. The review team also found significant strengths in the design and implementation of the preliminary multiple subject with intern program overall. This program effectively integrated coursework with clinical practice and provided candidates with extensive supervised field experiences in diverse classroom settings. The program reflects a strong commitment to equity, culturally responsive teaching, and preparation of educators who serve California's diverse population. The candidate population itself reflects the diversity of California schools and preparing educators who are representative and responsive to the communities they serve. Recruitment and outreach efforts intentionally support this diversification of educator workforce and aligned with statewide priorities. In addition, the program demonstrates a robust system of assessment and continuous improvement. Multiple sorts of data, including candidate performance, survey feedback, and stakeholder input, are systematically collected and used to inform program enhancements. All program standards for the preliminary multiple subject with intern program were found to be fully met, with no areas of concern. This indicates a high level of alignment with state expectations, and based on the totality of evidence reviewed, including documentation, data, and extensive interviews, the team reached a clear and unanimous conclusion. It is my honor to report to the accreditation team to the commission that we recommend full accreditation for Humphreys University. This recommendation reflects our confidence in the institution's ability to continue preparing educators who positively impact students and schools across California. Overall, the team found Humphreys University is highly responsive to the evolving educational landscape in California, expanding access, preparing a diverse educator workforce, and aligning its programs to meet the needs of both candidates and the communities they will serve. And in closing, I'd like to thank the university community for their openness and commitment to the excellence, and the commission for its leadership in maintaining high standards for educator preparation.
Thank you, Dr. Kersey Reed. We will now invite the institutional representatives to briefly comment about the visit. We do want to remind you that this isn't a time to dispute the team's report, but rather provide any thoughts you had about the visit.
Hi, everyone. My name is Carrie Ridenour, and I am the Director of Teacher Credentialing at Humphreys University. We would never dispute what Lori just said. Thank you, Lori Kersey-Reed, for all your positive comments and being a great leader throughout this process. We also wanted to thank Timothy Weeks. He was our consultant, and we had a great communication from him and a lot of involvement to help us through the process. I just wanted to say again, thank you to the entire team, because they were very professional, courteous, helpful with all their feedback, encouraging to areas that, we were unsure of, and kind of what you said, Lori, held our hand in the right, just a little bit enough to ensure that we were on the right track. And I would have never known this was your first time as the lead. So you did a wonderful job, and we appreciate you made the whole process from something, of course, we were very nervous about to a very pleasant experience. And we walked away just feeling like it was a very positive, encouraging, built on our strengths and helped us, with any areas of weakness that we felt that we needed to improve. So thank you so much to everybody.
Thank you. Are there any public comments for this item?
There are no public comments.
All right. Are there any questions or comments from the committee? Okay. On page 17 of the report, it talks about the Cal TPAs. And in one of the paragraphs, it says when additional help is needed, the program implements targeted supports, individualized remediation, leading to consistently strong outcomes. But right under that, it shares that in 2021, you had 90% pass rates, and then it's declined significantly each year. So what is the reason for that, and how are you supporting candidates, and how are you going to bring those scores for the pass rate back up?
Yeah, so recently with the new TPAs, we did implement meeting as a staff, looking at our test scores, looking at the rubric scores, finding our areas of weaknesses. We rewrote our lesson plan after the 2021, a little bit of a decline. Rewrote the lesson plan to build on strengths, the English language, standards were a big focus of emphasis for us. And after rewriting, we did have we started our scores started to improve. And then the last two, the math TPA cycle 1 that started in the fall, we had 100% pass rate. And the TPA 2, the literacy cycle, we just had our scores return again, 100% pass rate. So we definitely met. Talking about that continuous improvement cycle, we definitely met. We were aware of our scores. Looking at everything in our program to see how we could improve, and we definitely did. So I felt like our recent scores really showed all of our efforts to find ways to close that loop and create improvement in our program.
What specific, like looking at the scores, it's about half, 57%, and you jumped all the way to 100%. Why do you think that is specifically? Because that's a huge difference.
Right. I think just
a quick point of clarification. So the ADS data that's quoted in the report are the first time pass rates.
Yeah.
Not the total pass rate. So I think at the 100% she's talking about are the full pass rates, not the first time.
Got it.
Again, just meeting as a team, feedback from all sources. All of our adjuncts are working in the field right now, so gathering all that feedback, really looking, analyzing where our weaknesses are to build up those into strengths. And also looking again at all stakeholders, gathering feedback from candidates, gathering outside, from other districts. What are other districts doing? And just also attending professional development to build up our capacity to help our candidates. So really using all those sources and really identifying and analyzing and working together.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions? All right, this is an action item. Do I have a motion? Committee member Cervantes.
I motion that we accept staff's report of accreditation for Humphreys University.
Do I have a second? I saw member Leggett, so thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Rednar, Mr. Reynolds, Ms. Porta, Dr. Kersey Reed, and Dr. Weeks. Appreciate it. Continue showing those improvements and supporting our candidates out there, and just showing all of your efforts. It's greatly appreciated.
So we're going to now move on to item number 15, where we are still a delay. We apologize. We're trying to move item number 16 to after lunch. We heard that our team lead may be out there in the audience. If so, the CTC has emailed you to see if you're available. If you could email back as to Administrator Hickey to see if we can move your item to 1 o'clock, because we're just moving past these times anyway. So if you could do that, that would be grateful. Otherwise, we're at item number 15. And this is the discussion of the second quarterly report for Los Angeles Pacific University. We want to thank consultant William Hattrick, who's going to present this item, and the institutional representative joining us is we're Gordon Jorgensen. Thank you for joining us back, the assistant dean. Again, thank you for your flexibility and patience with us today. Is anyone recusing themselves on this item? Nobody. So, Mr. Hattrick, welcome back.
All right. Good to see you again. Agenda item 15 presents the information from the second quarterly report submitted by LA Pacific University. As a reminder, their provisional site visit was held last October, and they were granted accreditation with major stipulations. Information and evidence was submitted to CTC staff earlier this month related to each stipulation, and that's summarized for you in the agenda item, but I will go over some highlights for you. Since the last quarterly report in January, another full-time faculty position has been requested based on the continued growth of the program, and that's expected to be filled for the upcoming academic year. A new chief academic officer with extensive experience in public K-12 education was appointed, and program leadership developed a continuous improvement calendar to provide a clear timeline of when and also what forms of data will be collected, including who's responsible for evaluating the results. New end-of-course faculty and candidate surveys were launched for spring semester courses, and the results will be shared with program faculty and administrators after the semester ends. In addition to providing training for district employed supervisors specific to LAPU's multiple subject credential program, those who needed more professional development to meet the 10 hours requirement were provided links to the PD for mentor teachers modules at no cost. Program staff track the completion of these hours, and nearly all active supervisors have completed that required number of hours. And related to stipulation number 6, I can now report that all areas for domains 1 through 6 are now evidenced and aligned for introducing, practicing, and assessing all TPE elements. Domain 7, literacy, was taken care of through the 88 certification process last year. So the next quarterly report will be presented to you at your August meeting, and then the focused revisit is scheduled for mid-November. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hattrick. And now it's an opportunity, Mr. Jorgensen, if you'd briefly like to share anything from the report.
Good morning, everyone. I understand that we're over time, so I'll try to keep it brief. I'm sure everyone's hungry. I think the highlights that we're most excited about is working with Barbara Howard to develop this continuous improvement calendar so that we can flesh out what the whole year looks like and what the different parts are, what kind of data is being collected, who's responsible for managing the results. And then also we're still working through some of the pieces in terms of who's responsible for implementation of changes that come about from some of those. The other thing that I want to for sure point out before I go any farther is just how much appreciation I have for William. He's been a remarkable partner in walking alongside of us and helping us get through the responses to the different stipulations. So I'm super thankful for him. Super thankful for all the different conversations we had on making sure that the process we've developed for making sure that master teachers have the 10 hours of professional development, and if they have any gaps, how we provide that and make sure that they follow through on their end. Pretty happy with that process now. I think we've got it solved, and going forward with the fall group who will come in, I think that process is pretty good. Well, I think it's really good, actually. We're obviously happy about finishing and making sure that the subject matter matrix is fully approved. So that's a big win for us too. Another thing that we worked through with our faculty, which is based on some of the survey data from the fall, was tightening up the master teacher evaluation forms that we use to make sure that one of the things that we're really trying to focus with our master teachers is couching the conversations they have with our candidates through the TPEs, so that if they notice that there's an area that needs improvement, they can tell them which TPE it's connected to, so that they can see the importance of the TPEs in their professional preparation, that it's not just this big list of things that the programs are responsible for. I'd say that group are the ones that we're the most pleased with so far at this point.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jorgensen. Thank you for joining us again and sharing your results. It's now an opportunity for public comment. Any public comments on this item?
No public comments.
Thank you. And just for our opportunity for our committee members, are any questions you may have for the institution? I know last time you came here, Mr. Jorgensen, a lot of challenges your institution was facing. And it looks like you've risen to some challenges related to the programs, providing us with things we requested last time. It was a little, in my opinion, a little bit clearer this time with some of the links you provided. And I just encourage you to just continue the work and momentum moving forward. I know it hasn't been easy, but you're working hard towards getting these things met for your institution and more importantly for your students.
Sure, appreciate that.
Thank you. Any other question? We have member Cervantes.
Yeah, I'll keep it quick because you're right, lunch is around the corner, but thank you for the efforts and also really for leaning in. Second quarter, glad you're looking at this as a continuous improvement, like the development of that infrastructure. I think that's very much appreciated. You made in a relatively short time progress in, strengthening TPA alignment, improving your pass rates, introducing multiple new data sources, right? Surveys, your revised evaluation tools, and also the continuous improvement calendar. I think that's great. I guess for me, it's also, it's then like, how are you making sure you're looking at all these things and putting out there and making them coherent for yourself as a learning system? I'm always going to ask that question because it's not about checking off a bunch of boxes like, yeah, we did that. Yeah, we did that. It's like, no, is this all working? And perhaps maybe share an example of a change that has already resulted from this work, just to give us a glimpse on how you're evaluating the tools and the new data sources you're putting together.
Sure. Thanks for that question. One example I would give is at the candidate exit surveys that we sent at the end of the fall semester. We collected that data, sat down with our program faculty who teach in the program, and as a result of those conversations, we made quite a few changes to the evaluation forms for both master teachers and clinical supervisors to tighten up the alignment to the TPEs, so that it wasn't just some type of performance measure that we're looking at, but what is the TPE connected to that measure? So that there was alignment throughout both of those evaluation forms.
Any other committee members? This is an action item. Is there any motion? Member Cervantes?
Yeah, I motion that we accept staff's recommendation that the Committee on Accreditation accept this report from Los Angeles Pacific University, but take no further action at this time as the program continues to address the stipulations placed upon it by the COA.
Member Hall's hand went up for a second. Second, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. And again, thank you, Mr. Jorgensen, for your hard work and dedication, and Mr. Hattrick for joining us today as well. Keep up the solid work. For our committee members and for the public, we were able to get confirmation that action item number 16 is going to be moved to 1 o'clock. So we're actually going to be going on a break now until 1 p.m. At which point we'll do action item 16 followed by 17. So for item 17, you will be a little bit delayed. It won't be till at least 1:50. So. Then after that, there's no time sensitive items. So everyone enjoy your lunch. Which now we're on 15 minutes early. We do have to walk over there though. So that's
snuck in the last month.
Everyone that's not walking fine. Thank you, Cheryl, for navigating. Are we off? Are we not being recorded, right?
Are we off?
Right on time. There she is. All right, we are all back from lunch and ready to go. Everybody looks like they're ready to go, right? Everybody's tired? No, here we go. We are on item 16. Item 16 is the report on the accreditation site visit team, San Bernardino City, USD. Consultant Dr. Frances Keller will present this item, and joining her today is team lead Roxana Stern and institutional representatives, Sarah Cloves, teacher induction program lead, Sarah McCain, coordinator employee development, Mary Pierce, development, director of employee development, and Shayna Smith, assistant director of employee development. Does anyone need to recuse themselves?
People are still coming in.
All right, we will wait just a moment to make sure everybody's there.
Thank you, everybody, for letting us put this off till 1 o'clock.
Yes, thank you for your flexibility and allowing us to get our tummies full. We appreciate it.
So we're missing Sheena and Mary.
They were not able to reschedule to the 1 o'clock time, so Shanna and Mary will not be joining us.
Okay, thank you so much for letting us know.
You're
Dr. Keller, welcome back. Will you go ahead and begin, please?
Absolutely. Good afternoon, committee members. It is my pleasure to present the report for the San Bernardino City Unified School District's accreditation site visit that was successfully conducted virtually from March 9th through the 11th of this year. The protocols for this visit were all in accordance with normal procedures for a virtual site visit. At this time, I'd like to thank institutional representatives, Sarah McCain and Sarah Cloves, both coordinator and program leads, for their teacher induction program and for the level of collaborative and thoughtful work to prepare for this visit. They were just so incredibly responsive and proactive throughout the process. I'm going to miss our monthly chats. So I'd also like to extend my deep appreciation for the wonderful work and collegial collaboration of our site team lead Roxana Stern, and our team members Beth Bythrow and Kim Nguyen. Their deep knowledge of our accreditation system and teacher induction as a whole, in addition to their expertise on educator development, resulted in conscientious and collaborative work. It was a joy to learn with and from them throughout this visit. I will now happily turn it over to our team lead, Roxana Stern, to present or to report on the visit and the team's findings.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Keller, and good afternoon, committee members. I wanted to thank the San Bernardino City Unified School District for their collaboration throughout this process. Every request that we made for documentation was responded to promptly, and to say that they were thorough is absolutely an understatement. It was, again, a delight and a pleasure to work with them, as well as with my review team colleagues and with Dr. Keller. And we found in general that this was a program that was I should back up by saying we followed the same review process as was described to you in detail in the first half of the meeting today. The program that when the Garden Grove program was reviewed, you received information about the detailed process. And we went through that same process, and you also have a 20-page report from us that describes all the documents that we went through. So I will summarize by saying that we found the San Bernardino City Unified School District teacher induction program to be a very well-resourced program, which is super impressive. They are serving 392 candidates this year, and that seems to be a typical number for them. This program is woven into the fabric of the district, and that begins with the new Teacher Orientation Academy, and induction has a specific role that it plays in the new teacher orientation. And throughout the year and throughout the program, the candidates resoundingly told us that they felt very well supported. There is evidence that the superintendent shared with us, which is so crucial for all of our school districts, is that there is a high rate of teacher retention, and they attribute that right back to that teacher induction program. Other indicators when we talk about program impact are that student achievement is increasing in San Bernardino City. The superintendent pointed to indicators such as the number of students who are proficient on statewide exams, the students who have satisfied A to G requirements, so they are college and career ready, and also their graduation rates are going up. And they tie that directly back to the preparation that new teachers are getting that's leading to them staying in the district and providing a robust experience for the students there. What we also found that stood out to us was that not only did the district check every mark, or did the program check every mark when it came to the evidence that they had to provide for the review, but they engage in an ongoing data review process that leads to adjustments, some of which are almost immediate. There are candidate level adjustments. If a candidate needs more support, they will get that for that candidate as quickly as possible in real time. It might be that the candidate has an additional experienced teacher who's supporting them, or they may be able to go to a demonstration classroom. Or if there are some program level changes that are needed, such as more support for education specialist teachers or more demonstration classrooms in general available across the program, we found that they very promptly responded to that. And the following year, the program had been beefed up to include all of those additional items that were needed. And it even got down to the redesign of the ILP to make it more user-friendly for the candidates. So those are some specific examples, and I could go on, but I won't. What we really arrived at was the conclusion that all standards for the teacher induction program were met. All the program standards were met. All the common standards were met. And so we unanimously agreed that we recommend accreditation for this program. And it is my pleasure to make that recommendation to you, committee members.
Thank you very much. We now invite the institutional representatives to briefly comment about the visit. We want to remind you that this isn't a time to dispute the team's report, but rather to provide any thoughts you had about the visit.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you to the committee and the accreditation team for your time and thoughtful review of our program. Just on behalf of our district, I want to express our appreciation for this process. It really gave us meaningful opportunity to reflect on our work and also hear directly from our educational partners. We are especially proud of our mentors and our participating teachers who are at the heart of our induction program. And we're very proud of the systems that we have built to support their growth. So we're grateful for the findings and remain committed to continuous improvement and in service of our teachers and students. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there any public comments for this item?
There are no public comments.
Are there any questions or comments from committee members? Member Campbell.
Hello there. Thank you for your program that we're reading about today. I was taken by the portion about mentor training. It seems that you really have a robust system for training your mentors, not only new mentors, but ongoing training. And it sounded impressive. I wondered if you'd speak to that a little bit more. It looks like you probably have new mentors consistently because your program seems to continue to grow.
Yes, I can speak to that. So as part of our continuous improvement process, what we'd found as our mentorship was growing, we have about 24 full-time mentors, and we have almost about 200 part-time mentors. Those part-time mentors primarily serve as full-time teachers and then support one, sometimes two new teachers. So what we found is that we have such a varying degree of seasoned mentors who've been supporting new teachers for several years, and then we're training new teachers or new mentors. So we wanted to make sure that we were differentiating that support based on their coaching level and skills. So a couple of years ago, we decided we need to start breaking off the supports as we're training up new mentors and giving them very specific training based on those new mentor skills, new coaching workshops that are just developing those basic coaching skills. And then as the inquiry cycle goes on, we would bring all of our mentors together and as a PLC. So we're also providing, we started these virtual office hours. So weekly, both our seasoned and new mentors can come in either before or after school just to have some one-on-one time with our mentors to pop and ask quick questions about program processes anything having to do with logistics to relationship building, just do a quick check for them. And then we're also doing, weekly email supports, and then a very robust review system. So we're always thinking out of the box, anything creative we can do to support our vast mentor system.
And if I can add, once those mentors are all merged, come around November, so we have the monthly PD, and as Sarah shared earlier, it was differentiated by novice mentors and experienced mentors. Once we get them together in a whole group at the end of each mentor training session, we have differentiated support as well. So when we're talking about our different program processes, they get to select which session. After learning about all of them, they then get to choose which process they'd like to learn more about. And so at the end of each mentor session, they get to go around and have their individualized questions also answered in person.
Thank you. Co-Chair McKee.
So again, I commend you for what you're doing as a program. Two highlights that I think really stick out is that your district's invested in an employee development department. That's pretty impressive because that's what should be done, right? At the very beginning, and all the investment of a brand new person has the entire, I think it was a 3-day orientation or 3 days of workshops and training. So they're hitting the ground running, ready to go. You're not just catching them when problems happen. So what my curiosity then, because of the high retention, and we all know that the school districts have declining enrollment, can you speak to how your enrollment went up 240 candidates? Is there a high retirement happening? Was there a golden handshake? Because if you're retaining people, why are you increasing? And maybe that's just a systematic piece that we don't know.
So there are a couple of reasons for that. So natural attrition, because we do have about 8,000 employees, about half of that are teachers. So there is natural attrition with retirements and such. But in addition to that, because we have ample funding in a district our size with our high Title I population, our district made an investment in assigning or creating TOSA level positions, MTSS coordinators at every site throughout the district, and we have about 80 schools. So one of the reasons why we had a large hiring of novice educators was because those positions were often filled by promoted teachers, creating a need for 80 additional teachers. But we tend to have, through natural attrition, we tend to hire a lot of teachers each year anyway, but that created an additional need for hiring.
Well, thank you for clarifying that. And it sounds like you guys have built in the capacity for sustainability. I'm just hoping those numbers are doubling every single year.
No, we don't anticipate that this next year. So
awesome. Well, thank you for clarifying. I appreciate it.
Are there any other questions or comments from the committee? All right, this is an action item. Do I have a motion? Member Cervantes?
I motion that we accept staff's recommendation of accreditation for San Bernardino City Unified School District.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Oh, that whole side of the room over there. Member Bryant, I saw you first. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. All right, thank you, Ms. Stern, Ms. Klobes, Ms. McCain, Ms. Pierce, Ms. Smith, and Dr. Keller. Everybody who is not here that couldn't make the meeting because we needed to change some things, and thank you for being flexible. But amazing work on your induction program. Just thank you for supporting our new teachers and really working on that retention piece. It says a lot for your induction program and districts. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Very excited.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to item number 17. And good news, everybody. Now we're only 15 minutes behind. So we're kind of almost on track, and we appreciate the next agenda item, Fresno County Superintendent of Schools. There was a little delay here, but we're right back almost on track. So thank you for your flexibility. Item 17 is the report of the accreditation site visit team to Fresno County Superintendent of Schools with consultant Roxanne Perdue here in person to present this item. Joining her today is team lead Dr. Amanda Baird with institutional representatives. Catherine Baragia, CASC Content Coordinator, Mike McCollum, CTE Content Coordinator, Margot Perkins, CTE Director, Rachel Miller, Teacher Induction Director, and Manjit Singh, Senior Director of Teacher Development. Will anybody be recusing themselves? Nobody? So Miss Purdue, good afternoon. You can begin.
We were gonna be afternoon anyway, so we're on time. We're gonna say wait 15 minutes just in case.
I think we have, do we have everybody? 1, 2, 3. I think we do. Excellent. So, all right, thank you.
Afternoon, committee members. It's my pleasure to present item number 17 for our site visit with Fresno County Superintendent of Schools, which I shall refer to as Fresno County SS. You're going to hear some other people refer to it as FCSS. So all of the above. The visit took place virtually from March 22nd through 25th. The wonderful total of 378 interviews took place, and the visit was conducted within all normal protocols for a virtual site visit. In both preparing for and during the site visit, Fresno County SS was led by a team, as is evident by all of those present today. I'd like to point out that collaboration in all areas, both internal and external, became quite evident as a strength for Fresno County SS. They work in different divisions, each program, and yet they work together so well. And that made it so much easier to do my job and our team's job when we had the site visit. The Fresno SS team were excellent in preparing for the site visit and responsive to our requests in a comprehensive and timely manner. Finally, I'd like to take a moment to thank both the Fresno site visit team and our team lead, Dr. Amanda Baird, for an excellent site visit that was thorough process where we all truly learned and grew in our roles. Now I'll turn the microphone over to our team lead, Dr. Baird.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. It's my pleasure to report on Fresno County Superintendent of Schools. I'd first like to thank our entire team, Jessica Brown, Hillary Harrell, Roxanne Bedia, and Tammy Patton, who took time away from their normal programs and job responsibilities to dedicate over 3 days interviews and good conversations and writing to contribute to this final report. And then thank you to Roxanne Purdue for always being there to help guide us as we needed it throughout the visit and leading up to it. And then Fresno County, we always knew that we could ask anything, and usually within 10 minutes, you guys always had an answer for us and were able to provide evidence. And so that makes it a lot easier on the team as we engage. Overall, I'd say Fresno County is very focused on supporting all of the school districts that they support, from institutions as small as only having 17 students to over 70,000 students. So there's a wide variety of the community that they serve, and they feel largely that the programs that they offer are non-negotiable because their districts and partners rely on the supports and the resources, and their goal is to keep teachers and administrators in the field. And throughout our visit, either document review or conducting interviews, we came to the conclusion that we recommend full accreditation. We found that all of the common standards were met. For teacher induction, we found 5 standards to be met, 1 standard to be met with concern. For CTE, all 16 standards to be met. And for the Clear Administrative Services program, we found all 6 standards to be met.
Thank you so much. We now will invite 1 or 2 institutional representatives to briefly comment about the visit. We remind you that this is not a time to dispute the team's report, but rather a time to provide any thoughts you had about the visit. So would 1 or 2 people like to share?
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, committee members. We at FCSS would just like to thank the entire site visit team for their time, their professionalism, and their thoughtful feedback throughout the entire site visit process. We also want to extend a special thank you to our site visit lead, Amanda Baird, and our CTC consultant, Roxanne Perdue, for their guidance and support over the last several months. This experience really provided an opportunity for us to strengthen our collaboration across the 3 programs. We've always been great collaborators as 3 programs, but truly preparing for the site visit and participating in the last few accreditation activities together really allowed us to take a deeper dive and take a closer look at the systems we have in place to see what we can do to further refine these to better serve the students and educators of Fresno County. We are especially proud of the strong relationships we have built with our district partners, our candidates, our coaches, and these relationships really continue to be the foundation of our program and this culture that we've created within the programs. These partnerships reflect our shared commitment to developing skilled, reflective educators that are prepared to serve the diverse communities that we have here in Fresno County. And we are honored to receive the recommendation of full accreditation, and we are going to remain committed to the continuous improvement of our programs. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we have an opportunity for a public comment. Do we have any public comment?
No public comments.
Thank you. Opportunity for any of our committee members. Any questions you have or anything you want to share? I'll share one thing. As I read your reports, which are very thorough, and what was striking to me is how complex your organization is and how well connected. To me, my perspective, a model. We see a lot of institutions come before us and things sit in different departments, and typically it doesn't work, right? We sometimes how can we get things housed in one place? I kept reading sections over and over again. This is housed in one area and this is housed somewhere else, but it all works. So speak to me, what's the magic? How do you get things sitting in so many distinctly different places, but it's one well-oiled machine? Because you might have something you need a trademark here.
Go ahead, Maggie.
I think we really intentionally try to not stay in silos and break those silos and know that there's so much expertise across our organization and to really tap into that to the benefit of our students and educators.
And to go along with that, again, the intentionality and really using improvement science tools within our departments to recognize that we need to continue to improve even the breakdown of silos and how we continue to use communication and truly integrate and weave through all of our areas and not just rely on those siloed effects. So it's definitely intentional.
From my perspective, impressive. So thank you for your hard work and the intentionality of that. Yes, Member Cervantes.
Yeah, no, I want to echo Chairman McKee's comment here. Strong appreciation for the strength of your program, especially the level of support and coordination across so many districts. It takes more than a smile, so kudos on that. I did want to ask about the individual learning plan noted in Standard 3. Just really curious about how you're building in regular structured opportunities for candidates and coaches to revisit and adjust that ILP based on progress, right? Rather than relying on the candidate to initiate those changes. And I really do think that this helps also condition how a new teacher sees the districts responding to them, right? So just curious on some thoughts on maybe an initiative or a way in which you're trying to address or curb that for the future. Yeah.
I went ahead and I unmuted myself. Hello, I'm the director for Teacher Induction. We're really grateful for the feedback that we received to have us take a moment to think a little bit more on what that means. Because for us, the way that we have kind of projected or we've shared the opportunity with our teachers, we're like, well, that's part of the process. Making those changes and evolving in your reflection, it's part of the process, but we recognize through the interviews that some teachers didn't understand that was part of the process and they needed more guidance. And like you mentioned, opportunities to think about when modification might be needed. And so that was really we had we're kind of looking at how do we make that a little bit more clear directly on the ILP itself, because speaking to modifying the ILP was not written on our ILP before. And so now it's kind of written at. We got that feedback before the final report, and we're like, oh my goodness, like we need to add this. One is like an introduction to the ILP, but then even questions that we have, the reflective questions that we have on the ILP itself for teachers to reflect upon their progress, their learnings. There can be a very natural question on what modifications might you need to make next. And so thinking about the questions that are written directly on the ILP itself. And then one additional piece that I thought, oh, this would be a really natural way for us to support coaches to support their teachers in this process is we have, we call it our sample guiding questions, which coaches use to guide their weekly meetings with their teachers. And there's a section for conversation around the ILP every week. And so we don't have a question on there about modifying their ILP in the sample guiding questions. So in addition to having it on the ILP itself for the teachers to be able to reflect upon, having it in the coach's hands as kind of like one of the, I think we have right now 4 questions for them to ask. And so to have that kind of embedded in there as well. And so again, it was a really great piece for us to reflect upon. And we're already, as we're planning for the following school year, looking at how we really want to firm that up. And then, sorry, one last piece to mention is that at our beginning of the year meeting, I think making it very clear to teachers, because this came up in a comment that, oh, I don't want this to extend my timeline. And so to ensure that they know this is part of the process, this is just a natural part of learning and growing as a professional. And so I think the way that we even speak to it as we launch the development of the ILP, we just need to be clear that this is again, it's part of the process. And so I appreciate you asking that question, because we're kind of getting deeper and deeper and more detailed on what that'll look like.
No, I appreciate the reflection and the answer. And I think you're getting at making sure this ILP is a living tool and not just a static requirement. And I think you're really working towards that. So thank you. No, thank you for your intentionality and for taking the feedback and applying it and modifying.
Thank you.
Any other committee members? Also an action item, so if no other questions, anyone that would want to make a recommendation. We have Member Hillis.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of accreditation for Fresno County Superintendent of Schools.
We have a second, Member Joe. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Well, congratulations on the job well done. Motion carries unanimously. Well done. We wish you the absolute best. Keep up the amazing work and collaboration.
All right, we're moving on to item 18. Item 18 is the actions taken to address stipulations for LA County Office of Education. Consultant Jake Schuler will present this item. Joining him here today is Institutional Representative Rami Christofi, Director 1, Beginning Teacher Programs, Human Resource Services. Does anyone need to recuse themselves? Member Hollis? Anyone else? Hey, good afternoon, and hello again, Mr. Schuler. Will you begin, please?
Yes, good afternoon. Good to see everyone again. Hope lunch was okay.
Wonderful.
And great job catching up on the timing today. Let's see who's here. I need to stack my head. Hi, Rami.
Thomas.
Sarah.
Good afternoon.
Okay.
Thomas.
That's okay. Should we wait on Tom, or should we start, Sarah and Rami?
No, Tom had an urgent matter to address, so he has to be excused.
Okay, no problem. And I think Nancy is joining as well. She doesn't need to come on screen, but just saying hello to Nancy. Maybe Linda was on, and Amy is there as well from LACO. So just, yeah, wanted to start by saying it's been a pleasure to work with Rami and Sarah and Tom and their team over the past year. It's really been 2 years. And for Sarah and I, we had 2 site visits. So we worked together 8 years ago as well. So they're fantastic individuals. leading a fantastic team of professionals who care deeply about preparing great educators. So thank you so much to them for their partnership over the past few years. This item is a discussion of their final report addressing stipulations assigned at the April 2025 COA meeting following their February 2025 site visit, consistent with the recommendation of the site visit team. So at the April COA meeting, there were 5 stipulations. The first was around induction precondition 1, which requires candidates to begin their induction program within the first year of teaching. As you might remember, at the 6-month update report in October, the COA voted to remove that stipulation based on the work that was done by LACO in developing their processes. The second stipulation was for Common Standard 2, related to the requirement for the unit to ensure each program has a clearly defined process in place to identify and support candidates who need additional assistance to meet competencies. To address this, LACO has integrated systematic processes inspired by the principles of MTSS across all credentialing programs. And you'll see in their full report that they've addressed this in depth. The third stipulation was Program Standard 3 for multiple subject, single subject ed specialist around clinical practice. In relation to this stipulation, they've developed and implemented a plan to ensure that all district employed supervisors remain current in the knowledge and skills necessary for effective supervision and are fully informed of program expectations related to their roles and responsibilities. As you'll see in the full report, they've detailed the process and they may want to speak to that as well today. Next was related to the Extensive Support Needs Credential Program. The stipulation required LACO to submit evidence of candidate coursework and clinical practice that addressed each of the ESN-specific TPEs. For this stipulation, LACO has created additional course sections and differentiated assignments for ESN candidates, as well as additional training for faculty. The last stipulation was for designated subjects. For adult education and CTE programs to develop a process ensuring that all candidates are evaluated, assisted, and guided by supervisors throughout the period of their preliminary credential. You'll see in the report that LACO has developed tools to ensure this supervision, and they can provide additional comments as well today. Mission staff are recommending removal of all stipulations, and I will now turn it over to Sarah and Rami to provide any further comments.
Thank you very much, Mr. Schuler, and thank you, Board and Commission. It has been a pleasure working with Jake, and we truly appreciate the process. We firmly believe in the continuous improvement process, and we work to refine our programming. We do have 7 programs operating here in Los Angeles County Office of Education. We're very proud of the rigorous programs that we offer, and also looking for opportunities to make the experience really enjoyable for our candidates. After all, we hope to inspire them to continue in the profession until retirement. So we are very, very proud of the programming that we offer. We're also very proud of the refinements that we've made to address each of these stipulations. We are open to any other supports and any other recommendations. Thank you.
Hey, are there any public comments for this item?
There are no public comments.
All right, we will turn it over to committee members for comments or concerns or questions. Yes, Member Hall.
I do have a question. This is actually the 3rd time today we've seen a reference to just-in-time supports for mentor teachers. And I was wondering if you could explain more detail what that means.
With our current programming for just-in-time supports, those are things systematically in place to provide support to our candidates right away rather than waiting for a long period of time to address those needs. within our procedures and within our paperwork and documentation. Those items are there, and they're designed also to be proactive so that they are not necessarily left to be discovered later on at a later time, which may be sometimes a little too late to address or more difficult to address if they're not caught in time. So those supports are pretty much the idea of just in time. Not only is within our induction programming, but also we've applied those to our intern program to try to catch any of the candidates proactively rather than waiting until they're almost done with their coursework or even halfway done with their coursework. We want to make sure that we address any concerns and any issues before they really arise and become issues.
Thank you. I appreciate that response. I guess my follow-up question is, what are those things? I appreciate there are just in time, but what are the things that are actually being provided?
So for our intern program specifically, based on the Common Standard 2, it is really adapting the MTSS process or the MTSS procedures that we normally see at our school. So supports such as wellness checks. We have regular wellness checks. We have additional supports at the 3-week and the 5-week mark of coursework. The coordinator reviews those courses. In addition, we have a coordinator that supports the instructors to help them identify students beforehand as they are completing the grading within the coursework so that they can reach out to the students proactively before they are moving too far along in the courses.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Member Bryan.
Can you tell me more about the wellness checks, the structure, the process?
Yes, and I believe Dr. Medler can speak a little bit more to the wellness checks, but those are again designed to make sure that the looking at having the supports not just academically but also social emotionally. As these discussions are happening with the coordinator, we may find that the candidate may be struggling with certain supports or struggling with certain difficulties that are beyond the classroom and beyond the academics. So we provide it's not only internal supports with LACO, we do have a program called EASE that we can offer our candidates, but also additional guidance through the coordinator in navigating some of those not so academic type of needs. So this is something that LACO, I think, prides itself upon. I know our current superintendent really wants to look at the wellness of the candidates as well. So those are additional to the academics, more for the mental health and mental well-being of our candidates.
Are they built into the structure of the program as part of the process, or are they voluntary? The candidates engage in them if they feel like what's the process?
So we have a couple of different structures in place depending on the program. So some are as simple as a mood meter checking in when we run candidate group meetings. But then we've also put together as coordinators a wellness phone call tracking survey so that we are at random, all of us periodically throughout the year doing spot checks on candidates, just calling saying, hey, how are things going? What's going well? What supports do you need? We're also trying to put into place TPA buddy partners so that the candidates and even mentors can be partnered up and be checking on each other as well. So we're trying to approach it from different angles to make sure that, like Rami said, that the social emotional aspect is being taken into consideration and we're not just moving folks through requirements.
Any other questions? Right, this is an action item. Do I have a motion? We have quorum.
We do.
Motion? Yes, Member Jones.
I move that we accept this report and the recommendation to remove the remaining stipulations from the Los Angeles County Office of Education and change the accreditation status from accreditation with stipulations to accreditation.
Do I have a second? Member Leggett? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Oh, motion carries. Thank you so much for all of your hard work, and it is evidence that you have really practiced what you preached and put into place a lot of hopefully sustainable practices. But I think that from reviewing the reports and everything that you have submitted, it looks like you're really moving in the right direction. So continued success, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Item number 19 is the discussion of the handbook guidance regarding provisional site visits. I'm going to pass this over to Administrator Cheryl Hickey, who will present this item.
Yes, thank you. This item actually should be presented by Francis Hart and Miranda, but all three are on site visits, so I'm sort of stepping in. This item addresses something that we never had predicted until last meeting, and you probably remember it, where we had a provisional site visit where the team recommended accreditation with the 7th year report. And the reason that becomes a little problematic is because you've also made the decision, and the commission has made the decision to change their IIA process so that anything with any stipulation stays with the commission, stays with the COA until those are addressed. Then we move forward to the commission. So 7th year report usually means there's something that was still needing to be done. And so that put us in a weird position to think about. So they're recommending full accreditation, which means it goes forward to the commission, but it's a 7th year report, which means it stays here. Yeah. So we had to kind of think about how we want to do that going forward in the future. And so I'm kind of glad that came up. It was just something we didn't think about at the time. So what we're suggesting is that we come up with a policy as to how to deal with that. What we end up doing with that is a result of what your discussion will be today, and whether it is just guidance for the teams or whether it's something that is a change in the handbook is kind of up to all of you. But we're proposing that option be taken off the table for any institution going through provisional site visits. So it's either a full accreditation or it's accreditation with stipulations. It's not the 7th year report. So that's number one. And then the second discussion was whether we should, and this is something we just are adding here for your conversation, because we were thinking about this as we were looking through this item, or thinking about this item, is should we make it automatic that if there is one common standard or one program standard found to be less than fully met, then it has to be accreditation with stipulations? That's a bigger change, but we wanted to put that out here for our conversation with you to figure out where do we go with that. So I just leave it at that, and we're happy to have this conversation and then come back with either guidance for the team or a change in the handbook that we can present in some language.
Any committee members want to ask, or we'll start with Member Jones.
So speaking to the first part, it does make sense to me that if something is deemed less than fully met for the preliminary approval process, that it wouldn't move forward. That it would only move forward to the commission with, accreditation as a recommendation, and without a 7th year report. I think it makes sense to take that option off the table because that's a stipulation. I think, and if that's where we land as a recommendation, then I think it doesn't make sense to me. Well, no, it feels a little more squishy to me to say that that's guidance to teams. I think if that's the guidance to teams, then it needs to be in the handbook.
Okay.
Then it's clear. There's no interpretation.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yep.
So for consistency's sake.
That's all my 2 cents.
It makes sense that things shouldn't sit in two different worlds. I think provisionally, they're here because they have to have their program has to be set and ready to go. If their program's not set and ready to go, it shouldn't move beyond.
And we want to set them up for success in front of the commission. We don't want the commission to stop it because there's something hanging there.
Goes back this way anyway, so it's like.
Okay.
But I agree, it should be in writing and in the handbook and not just something that would happen maybe accidentally down the road. It's just like, this is the process.
And I would say that, yeah, we often share, I haven't been on a site visit in a little while, but site visit consultants often share those sections of the handbook with an institution as part of the preparation for the visit. These are all the kinds of decisions that could be made, and this is the implication for them. So it would be nice, I think, if it was in the handbook.
Right. Everybody seemed to be in agreement there. Okay, so what we'll do on that issue is we'll write up something, bring it back to your June meeting, and then you could approve it for the inclusion in the handbook. Yeah.
I'm just curious if they do come in with stipulations, major stipulations, the timeline for possibly getting those, because these programs have pushed the boulder up the hill.
Yes.
Pretty far, and I'm sure they're wanting to get started before it came back to us. What do we see that turnaround being?
So if you're talking about provisional site visits, so provisional site visits with a stipulation still has the year right now. They don't have to take the full year. As soon as we feel like we're confident that you're going to be confident in the decision, we'll bring it forward with you. But they don't have to wait the full year. But sometimes they might need it if it's if it's major stipulations. Sometimes they do need the full year. Yeah, it's the 1 year.
I they have the option if you move quicker, if.
Yes, absolutely.
Bandwidth to reschedule.
Okay, certainly can do that.
Sounds good.
You mentioned there's like 2 tiers, just a wondering throwing out there. Because this says if more than one common standard or relevant program standard are found less to be fully met, they have to be with stipulations. I'm wondering, they're provisional. Shouldn't they have to meet everything? Why is it more than one? Why can't it just be, it has to be met or it's stipulations? Because if they have one, the way this reads it, if they have one not met, they could still get accredited. But then we're sending programs out there that aren't. They're starting off a step behind and they should start off met.
With everything.
Yeah.
That certainly, yep, absolutely. We're proposing you more than, that it can't be more than one. But if you think it needs to be all standards met, then.
I would throw it out there.
That is something, that particular thing, I think we have to bring to the commission. But we'd have to bring it to the commission anyways, because it's a change in their IIA process, but we'd have to go back and look just to make sure that that's the case.
Only because we don't see them for 7 more years, so we're already approving a program that's already not doing what they should be doing in at least one area. Worries me for educator preparation. We're approving them saying that we know you're not doing fully what you should do, but you're still, I don't know what anyone else's thoughts are, but. Should it be more than one or one or that or?
I think I side with you on that, that for an initial, seems like it should be all met.
Provisional, yeah, because they're trying to get started.
That's good, solid foundation.
I'm curious what Aaron thinks. Oh, so go ahead.
Are you?
Putting Aaron on the spot.
I am thinking about it. I can see the argument very easily and very clearly that it's a new institution. Sometimes that's where I hiccup. It's a new institution sometimes going through IA. Sometimes it's not. For instance, you're going to look at Arizona State University soon. They're not a new institution. And on the flip side, we have the option for our regularly accredited institutions to sometimes have a couple standards that are not fully met, but they're allowed to receive full accreditation just because they're already in our system. So it's just that's where my brain is going. I'm like, oh, I agree, but then, ooh, what does that mean for this other part of the thing that you all do? So.
Yeah, it reminds me of the TPA, how you could have the 1-1. Right? I just know that team I would feel a lot of pressure if I was in between, you know, on a standard, and I'd hate for them to maybe gloss over it in the report to not tip it over, right? So I can see the margin of error being one, as if it seems like something that is easily reconcilable.
We do typically ask the team to err on the side of a finding as opposed to not a finding, only because the finding, while we know the institutions don't, love it, it's an opportunity for further guidance from us, for further reflection from them. So we usually encourage them to err on the side of, if you're not sure if it's met, then say it's not yet.
Was there a particular institution that we had in mind in regards to this? Because I think one of my concerns is that if we have like too many choices, that we will be at a place of a longer discussion, if you know what I'm saying. So that is one concern that I have. I don't know, was there an institution in consideration? But
it's not meant for any particular.
Not particular one.
It's more of a general consistent, what is our consistent process?
So the purpose of this additional option is, what's our bigger purpose?
I think the purpose is that for provisional site visits, those are institutions that have gone through the process of getting in, they've gone through the commission to become eligible. They've gotten the COA approval for a program. They've now run their program for 2 to 3 years, and now they're before they have a site visit at the end of the process to be part of our regular California program sponsor community and are allowed to. So there's that last spot where they go here for the site visit, and then when it gets cleared, it goes to the commission for final approval. So it's a long process. It's at least
because
4 or
of the
5
length of
years.
process.
Yeah.
They're with the consultant for a year, right?
With the consultant for a year,
So
yes.
it's not like they're independently and it's a site visit and something went wonky. They had advice from the CTC for an entire year that this needs to be the way it is, right?
Yeah, but the CTC consultant doesn't always know what the finding might be. I mean, sometimes it's not until we're at the site visit where we'll know what the finding is. I mean, we can't predict.
And unless it's a blatant misalignment with a standard.
Yeah.
We actually walk a very fine line between telling an institution how to fix it, which we don't do, again, unless it's blatant, and asking the institution to really think about what their process, what their policy is, what it is that they're doing it, so that we don't then end up at the site visit and have the team make a finding, and then the institution leadership looks at the consultant and says, you told me to do it this way.
Yeah.
And now the team is telling me it's not right. So we live in a very kind of gray area. We just try to provide support, but it's usually, you might want to think about this thing, and do you feel that that's meeting the standard? Okay. Right.
I mean, I think there's an aspect here of subjectivity, like, how do I ignore a minor gap, however I'm defining it, however I'm calibrated with my colleagues, right? And everyone does it. I mean, for as much as there's consistency, they're individuals, right? So there could be a variance. And how do I avoid setting up a process where I have to escalate to stipulations within block approval, potentially, right? So I also don't want to get into overcorrection, because that gets dicey, and so then more programs will get stipulations that, or what could essentially be a minor documentation gap or a minor thing they could have addressed.
Opposite.
Or the
They
opposite.
won't get stipulations because everybody's afraid.
Yeah.
Team's afraid.
Team's afraid.
I don't want to back an institution. Or,
You want to, sure.
We don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do something that I know student staff loves a lot. Ask for more information. No, I mean, so when you were saying, when you were talking about how long this process already is getting up till that site visit. That sort of tipped me over into Chair McGee's camp that at some point we have to say you're 100% ready. But I also am mindful of not setting the boundaries so high that it's just a discouraging carousel. And so my question is, how often has it come up? That's a
good question.
Like, are we talking that one or two it might have kept, but 100 it didn't? Or is it like something that happens a lot?
That's a great question, and probably something we can have our IIA team look back at the recent institutions and kind of
I think
pull
it's
that
really
data.
marginal, then I would say you gotta be 100% there. But if it's pretty common, then I would maybe rethink it.
Right. Then we will pull some data and take a look at it and come back to you with some of that information.
And we've seen programs by the time they get to our meeting. I remember Sarah Colombini, like this is already fixed, like they did it in the last 3 weeks. Well, like, good to go. Like we can correct it. They did their 7th year report and it was all done right there. Is that the institution has an opportunity to correct. And my recommendation or idea wasn't to be punitive, but if we're setting up students for success and this is the final step and we're saying, but the institution's not doing something, I worry about then what's our role of a body to support the students. But maybe it's a one-off, like you said. I'm like, this, I don't know. That's a good data point.
It is a really good.
And also not whatever the stipulation is related to, not everything can be fixed between the site visit and so there are varying degrees of what the stipulation is based on, how easily or quickly it can be turned around or modified or fixed or, whatever you want to call it.
And those were my thoughts on what, maybe I should have used a different word, not a minor gap, but like, even if you started to make progress on that thing, but it can't conceivably be turned around immediately, the fact that you're en route takes time.
Yeah.
And that's often where a 7th year report is applied. But for a provisional institution, that doesn't make sense because accreditation, again,
To everything we're talking.
Yeah, exactly.
Another consideration could be, right now you have more than one common standard and or relevant program standard. If we just make it, or that would be a total of 1 instead of possibly 2, which would kind of be a middle ground around, there's one area as opposed to potentially 2 areas.
That's that feels a little bit more comfortable. I like the middle ground, like we're not asking for perfection.
Really, really close. Okay. I do actually like that middle ground.
That's good.
So we'll come back at the next meeting with some data and then some possible options for you to consider.
Can I throw out something possibly messy? But I don't know if worth consideration, so I will speak it into the room. Would there be a scenario in which the COA might want the authority, and again, we would have to talk to the commission about this, to say to an institution, we recognize that you have a standard here that's not fully met and that you're being recommended for full accreditation, but we're concerned about this standard that's not fully met and we don't want to put you forward to the commission yet. So it would be instead of an automatically full accreditation, they go directly to the commission. It would leave it at your discretion, even if it's full accreditation, depending on what the finding is related. It leaves it more in your hands. It's certainly could be messier. I can't think of a better word. Messy sounds so negative, but
that was my concern about the debate. That's exact. You just pinpointed it.
Okay. And that was something you don't want to have happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because then we may spend a half hour trying to figure out what to do.
How bad.
Right. And once you do it, and this is a place I live in all the time, once you do it, whatever you do, you've set a precedent. So then the next institution that comes before you with the same thing, then you have the issue of consistency. Yeah,
We
yeah,
established.
and that can get messy. Then it is messy, yeah.
And then we see complex programs like Fresno County today.
Mhm.
Full accreditation, there wasn't any like really red flag, and there could be something in it that, oh, maybe they could do this a little bit stronger. We're not saying that, but I mean, it's possible to launch a successful complex program and keep it running.
And
Well, this makes me remember conversations in previous COA configurations about whether or not there's like a met and then there's like a super met. And all the standards are, wow, you're A+ gold star. And we kept coming back to no.
Yeah.
And so the distinction, that's the distinction is you met it all at a minimally proficient level or better.
Yeah, the Kleenex box is not a shoe. Yeah.
the point I could see getting messy though is because some of them are new, right? So it might have looked great on paper.
Yeah.
They tried it, they realized it didn't work. They are doing that continuous improvement, but those interviews during that visit led to the report. Right? But they're already working on it. So if it's just in that like one area, and like we said, maybe it's an area where they could say, hey, they are already working on this, it can be fixed. Maybe it's not. So that's where I think maybe a little grace. If we see they are being proactive with this stuff, which again, I think hopefully most of the reports are so well written, we can see that in there, where I just want to retain a little grace for those hardworking folks.
Remember Brian shared
Yeah.
or like
Yeah, I like
maybe
that.
grace on one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we still are struggling a little bit, I think, right, with calibration of the teams. We haven't gone back to that yet. So, I mean, I was on a site visit not that long ago, and I can definitely say there needs to be more calibration with the teams. So there's a lot of discussion that feels a little bit qualitative around like, well, it is or it isn't.
Yeah.
And then we accept that as like, that's the gospel.
So, right. And when you have standards that are sometimes vague or can be interpreted in different ways.
And even when you look through the reports just today, right, they're written differently and the same standards not met, but not met with something different, or the responses are the same. It's very interesting.
Yeah, calibration is a challenge.
Dissertation on just the report.
Well, good. I think this is super helpful. I really appreciate it. So I think we can come back next time with some additional information and some possible language for you. Any other?
We're on the right track.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Awesome. Thank you. Great conversation. We are moving on to item 20. Item 20 is the discussion of proposed updates to process related to experimental program standards. Consultant Dr. Tim Weeks will present this item. Good afternoon again.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Please just go ahead and fill us in. What's going on?
Okay, all right. So good afternoon, committee members. All right, we're bringing item 20 to you today to begin discussions about revising the process used for new programs under the experimental program standards. The proposed changes are intended to better align the approval process with the current accreditation practices, however, without restricting or undermining the innovative approach inherent within the process and standards for experimental programs. As a bit of background, the experimental program option as provided for in Education Code 44273, subsection B, was designed to encourage innovation in educator preparation with the aim of improving professional practice for the benefit of all students in California. In 2006, a work group was convened to review and propose changes to the experimental program option. And in 2007, a set of revised standards was drafted and subsequently adopted by the Commission at its March 2008 meeting. In March 2008, there was an agenda item that had reported that less than 30 programs had been approved on the experimental program standards between 1986, when they were first installed, and then 2008, when the revisions were made. However, a recent search of Commission records only uncovered 4 programs that had been approved since these standards had been in effect, and this occurred between 1996 and 2010. The two of the programs that were approved after the 2008 revisions were Cal Poly Administrative Services Credential. That was in 2010. And then there was a UC Berkeley Single Subject Credential program that was approved in May 2010. And then there were two experimental programs approved prior to the 2008 revision, and they were both by UC San Diego for multiple subject teacher credential programs, and one was in 1996 and the other in 2006. So before jumping into a discussion or the summary of the proposed changes, we would just like to make clear that the revisions we are proposing only affect the approval process and not the standards themselves, which are the purview of the commission. So what we're proposing is that under the current proposed revisions for experimental standards, that section 1, which is now listed as procedures for submitting an experimental program for commission approval, be separated into two specific areas.
That's on page 4.
That's on page 4, yes. And I think that's what I want. I can probably bring it up as a split screen. So the proposed revisions are intended to help better align this process with the relevant educator preparation performance expectations, program preconditions, and common standards. As you can see, these revisions involve restructuring each part of the process into two sections, and then giving each section its own title. So the procedures for submitting an experimental program for commission approval will be split into number 1, preliminary review of concept, and number 2, initial program review / approval of experimental programs. So the preliminary review of concept section would describe the documentation and the process needed for programs to submit an overview or outline of the concept for commission staff to review. And this would be done prior to the development of a full proposal that will be used for the approval process. In essence, it would serve as sort of a proof of concept before the full submission is sent into the commission. The next section, the initial program review / approval of experimental programs, would describe the documentation required to seek initial approval for the experimental program. That would include the preconditions, an abbreviated version of the common standards similar to what is submitted for the IPR, the standards for experimental programs, and then all the related performance expectations, possibly in the course of a course matrix. Now, the addition of the preconditions is to ensure that the proposed program is aligned with the relevant ed code, commission policies, and the common standards is to ensure that the proposed program will be supported by and aligned with the institution's existing infrastructure. The performance expectations are included to ensure that the program's outcomes meet state standards around educator quality. Finally, we are recommending that during the approval process, a determination be made about the length of the time for which the experimental program will be able to operate under experimental status, and that a maximum period would remain 7 years, but that determination be made exactly how long the program would operate in experimental status during the approval. So next, under the section procedures for implementing an experimental program, we're also proposing that that be broken up into two sections. Section 1 would be the procedures for implementing an experimental program, and section 2 would be at the conclusion of the experimental time limit. So the existing procedures currently state that experimental programs participate in all accreditation activities in concert with the institution or program sponsor's schedule. The proposed revisions would simply list out what those accreditation activities will be. So as part of today's and future discussions, we would also like to gather committee member input on the possible advantages and disadvantages of having experimental programs included in the program review. We are also proposing a more detailed list of items that should be addressed in the status report. This would include 1, an evaluation of the topic of investigation and research questions, hypothesis, or objectives that the program has been examining, and that's required under the program standards for the experimental programs. And then 2, we'd also be asking for some relevant outcome data, including but not limited to performance assessments results, if applicable to the program, program completion data, if that's available, retention data, employment data for candidates who have completed the program and been employed, and then also completer surveys and other employment data. We are also proposing that the status report be submitted in year 4 of a 7-year experimental implementation period, if it is approved for 7 years. However, if we were to decide on a variable period of implementation, then we would suggest that the status report be left as it is and be submitted halfway through the experimental process. Also, we would like to know or ask whether or not there could be a benefit to including experimental programs in site visit activities. We included in the revisions that the report to the site visit team will not include program findings, but will summarize information shared by constituents about the quality of the program, lessons learned thus far, and also some form of outcome data for the program. But we would appreciate having a discussion about the additional resources required to do this versus the benefit of including experimental programs in the site visit activities. In the final section of the proposed process, we are asking programs to report explicitly on the goals for experimental programs, how the lessons learned could help improve educator preparation quality as a whole, and a discussion about some of the challenges faced, opportunities discovered, and the final outcomes of the process. So the proposed revisions that we've submitted are really meant to be as a starting place for discussions about the specific amendments to the process that will be needed to bring the procedures and documentation required for approving and implementing experimental programs more in line with current accreditation practices in a way that does not stifle the commitment to innovation and continuous improvement inherent in the original process. So at this time, I would like to ask Cheryl if she would like to maybe include anything additional before we open it up for discussion. So Cheryl?
Sure, thank you. That was really helpful. So hopefully you had a chance to look through the standards themselves, and this tells you how long I've been here. I was around when these standards were redone, and Dan, you might have been here at the time. Were you here at the time? Okay.
50 years ago.
And the whole intent is it allows an institution to do something innovative, as Tim mentioned, not having to align with the current standards or to be restricted by the current standards. It leads to the same credential, and the candidates must show that they have the same skills, knowledge, and abilities as candidates coming out through more traditional programs. So the standards themselves, I took a look at. I didn't think they really needed updating because they were pretty broad in general. You may have a different perspective on that, and I'm happy to listen to that if we want to bring something to the commission. But this whole thing was just an effort to make sure we had all of the things that we're supposed to do updated on our website to make sure if there's interest. And in fact, there has been some interest recently to these standards. And we are having a discussion, in fact, with UCLA, who's interested in a proposal. I do not know what they're proposing, but so it's good timing to revisit these. And so I think generally the big question for me is, part of it was just updating with our current processes, but the other part was thinking about where does it fit in the, so an institution comes up for a site visit or program review, what do we do with these documents now? And this particular program that's been approved. And that's the piece that I'm kind of getting stuck on, that I'd like some input. They're so different and so unique, and they're required to submit a mid-visit kind of, that's one of the things we're proposing, and an end of the period research kind of findings and what to do with it. I'm having trouble figuring out what we do in terms of a site visit, findings, those kinds of things, because it does, I'm not sure it fits there. So I'm throwing that out there as Tim says, as a point of discussion. There's no action today, but we will bring you back this in June with some further things. So open to discussion. Yes.
Question. So if my institution is up for a site visit in 2030 and I submit for an experimental program that gets approved to move forward in 2027, how would that site visit align? That feels chaotic to me.
That's the question.
Yes, that's a good question. Yeah.
Those things can happen now. For instance, one of the institutions that added a program today, I don't know what their cycles are, but they could have a site visit as soon as a year from now or 3 years from now. And so we always have to take that into consideration. Will there be completers? Okay, no. So we're not going to talk to them, but we'll talk to current candidates in various stages of the cycle. So that to me is not the most difficult question.
But if there's 3 programs that already did this, what did they do?
So
It was years and
it
years
was
ago.
years and years
But
ago.
aren't they still in an accreditation cycle?
Well, those no longer exist. So they have a finite period of time. One of them that I remember from years ago, and I don't know why, I have a big question about the data that we have on these. I don't think it was 30, and I'm not sure it was only 4. So it might have been somewhere in there. So I'm not really sure. And a lot of it has, goes back a couple of decades. So before we have a good counting period. Yeah, but one of them, from my understanding, was one of the original ASL programs that led to ASL as a world language and not as an ed specialist type of credential. It led to that and led to a policy change statewide. And so I think what happens is they either become incorporated into, state policy or some sort of change, or they become part of a regular credential program at an institution. So that is a tricky question, because what happens at the end of the 7 years? And that I don't know the answer to that, because it could be any number of possibilities. So
It's my,
process. Oh, please go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, is it the purpose of encouraging more universities to do this? Because looking at this, our institution has been really thinking about this, and we've written a proposal, and then we think about it, and then we're like, no, it's so, it makes you not want to do it. So is the purpose to encourage universities to apply for this and do this more? Or, if you're keeping it as the current site visit, if you want to align it to the practices we have now with site visits, it seems more daunting to universities. And so for us, it's like, do we really want to put all this effort into it and go through this site visit as it is and do all this stuff? Or is it really experimental? And are you going to let us operate and do what we say we're going to do, and then at the end show all of our data? So that's kind of where we're at. So is the purpose to encourage, or is it to uphold policy?
And I think that is exactly the conundrum I'm thinking about as well. And that's why I'm having a hard time figuring out where it fits in a site visit. It feels to me something outside of the site visit. And again, it's a gut feeling, like, I just don't know. One, there's logistics involved with, okay, we're not going to have anybody who is calibrated and understands these standards. So we've got to find the right reviewers for it. If part of the objective is to let them have the freedom to do what they can do, and as long as the candidates are coming out with those knowledge, skills, and abilities, what are the findings if it's mid-process? So that's, I'm kind of leaning towards, and it's just my perspective, maybe it's just outside of it, but I'm not sure. But yeah. So the way it was written before, I think it was, remind me, Tim, where it talked about.
General statement where it says that they would participate in all the institution's accreditation activities, but it doesn't specifically spell out what they are or how they should be included. So I'm trying to add more detail to that process.
That was when we had biennial reports.
Yeah, biennial reports, which would be our outcomes measures. So we still would require something, we're talking about the timeline, but.
I have 2 questions, because we've never done this in all the time that I've been here. Are the institutions required to notify candidates who participate in these experiment programs, that they are in an experimental program?
That's an excellent question. There's nothing, I think, in our, but that's a great question. And
I would think it would make sense. The candidate should know you're gonna participate in something that isn't gonna be just like the other teachers, and that may be a great thing. It also could be a little harder for you. I feel like candidates should be, and I'll bet they are, but we don't have anything.
IRB.
The program's only 7 years and a candidate enrolls in year 6 and they don't finish something for whatever life circumstance, then they're out. I mean, I think they would have to be required to be told, because what if they go on maternity leave or some life circumstance and now they started a program that's not allowed to continue?
Right.
love that. I think you're absolutely right.
My other question is, we didn't have performance assessment the last time one of these. Do candidates still have to pass a performance assessment? Because, right?
I was thinking my motivation to write an experimental program would be one that does not do. But no, not being snarky, but has a different kind of assessment and run the data against my traditional multiple subjects and my other, like, that could be a reason to want to do one.
Yeah, and you wouldn't do it if upfront you feel like there's both upfront and an ongoing burden, right, on this reporting and research requirement, and then it'll dissuade maybe someone who's really trying to do something innovative, because my institution just doesn't have the strong research capacity, right? So then I think now equity, the types of institutions that now this lends itself to work for versus those who will not do the experiment, so to speak.
I have a basic and dumb question. If I do this and it's fabulous, can I just keep going indefinitely as experimental?
No, that's the, it has a definite end date of 7 years, but we have to, then something like that would have to be, I think, brought to the commission, you know?
Or the
Or
legislature.
the legislature, yeah.
It could result in here's a great way to operate a program that's never been considered in California before, but look how successful this was for these reasons. And then we go down, and then somebody would perhaps have to go get ed code changed. It could be the commission, it could be the program, it could, there's a million ways to do that piece.
I think that is like something up front, because if I do it and I'm like, oh, this is really great, I've built in a different type of performance assessment into my program, and it's really only like, it's less time, less energy, blah, blah, blah. But now at the end, my reward is I get to go to the legislature. And try to this is an option that
They retire on year 5.
Like, and so at least I want to know up front, like, one, it's not going to just die at the end. So this is written around like definitely a research model design. And 2, that like there's some other pathway than that.
You would think in catalog, like your catalog, it would have to list experimental program or something like that. So,
I mean, all of that, like I can see being done, but if you put all the energy and effort and it is successful,
yeah,
like I'd want to be able to do it.
right, absolutely.
And you'd want to know that up front, like you're saying, I want that, okay.
I want to know up front, like that there's an option that I can do it, not just you can do this, and if it's fabulous or not, year 7, it's dead.
Yeah, so there's no recertification process.
Oh, right.
Member Campbell?
Oh, yeah, it just seems like the entire purpose is articulated in Standard 6. This is true contribution, scholarly contribution to the profession. So the ultimate outcome could be a report to the COE, maybe mid and end, to show all this data to get that backing, so we don't have to go to the legislature.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a lot of effort to just make that little contribution. We're like, I see it in sort of like a charter school, right? Sort of concept where like, well, then once this charter is very different, but it's been successful, so we get to continue. Or this charter was a nightmare, so out you go.
I just have one point for clarification, is that even though the experimental standards do sort of dictate how the program is implemented, they cannot or would not have an effect on the requirements for, let's say, the multiple subject preliminary. So if you were to have, say, an experimental program where you use an alternative approach to the performance assessment, in order for those so that would be in effect throughout the operation or implementation of the experimental program. But once the candidates complete the program, they would still be required to meet the requirements for the preliminary.
Oh, right.
So they still take the TPA.
Why is that if we have it embedded differently? If our experiment is to show and then go to legislature and say, hey, this is why TPAs aren't effective, or this is more effective with program-based, within your program, like.
I think that the candidates still have to do the requirements. Now, that doesn't mean the program requirements, but they have to do the state requirements, taking the TPA, the literacy performance assessment, the whatever else might come down.
So under this model, could you use your, like Fresno did with the FAST, like you could build in your experimental model, a built-in TPA that would have to get approved separately, right? And then you wouldn't have to.
You could, institutions can create their own TPA now.
Right, yeah.
I just don't know, I mean, Ed Code says that candidates must take a TPA. I don't see an experimental program getting outside performance
I
assessment.
don't either. Oh,
No, I know, but it came up early, like maybe it was maybe.
It was my fault.
People are listening.
Pay attention.
Clarifications are.
Well, thank you.
So I have two questions that are totally separate. One is, has a glide path, a set of guidelines for a glide path been considered? So you're not either an experimental program within your 7 years, or you're a traditional program. But what about you're an experimental program that has a period of 7 years, you were very successful, and now here's your path for this to no longer be experimental, but folded into the regular. So that's A.
Yeah.
B, unrelated, is the question of the site visit. It seems to me it's kind of like I'm gonna misuse the analogy of parallel play. Like, could you have a small team or duo, whatever, that goes and does the appropriate activities with the experimental program, but does not, maybe at the same time as a regular accreditation activity, but does not be a part of that traditional report?
say that last part again.
So go ahead.
We still would do kind of a mini site visit.
Okay.
Just with the experimental program. It doesn't have any bearing on the reporting.
Even if it's at the same time, but it's not, you're not trying to shoehorn it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's part of this. Yeah, absolutely. That's not a bad idea, actually.
I like that idea, because then we could also get more information about the experimental and prepare if we want to support somebody going. It's like we're trying to get things changed.
I mean, it could be, so I jumped maybe the shark by jumping all the way to the legislature, but it could be as simple, but still formal as an experimental program, then taking the report or staff presenting the report or something to the commission to say that this program, this is what it did. And one of the findings was that commission's existing standards in areas X, Y, and Z could be improved by changing them so that they're closer to this so it could be something as simple as the experimental program showing places where the commission could modify standards, improve something like that. So it might not go all the way to the legislature. Sorry, I didn't mean to discourage anyone.
And Erin, for that sort of stays with staff, right? Meaning you all can then have a huddle and say, you know what, we saw that thing that came out of, that campus, and we're gonna.
It could be us, it could be the program, itself saying, we want to come and present this to the commission. We think it's worthwhile. There are other options besides just legislative.
But if you parallel play it, like I'm saying, then you could report here on those results. And so we would have like a systematic way of collecting that data and the results. And then we start to build an understanding of these experimental models, some things that are working potentially.
That's good.
I want to take it up.
Right.
And some things that might not be working.
Right.
And then other programs that want to do experimental models could also hear that. That's been tried. That didn't.
Are there people in the wings who are asking about this since it hasn't happened for 16 years?
Yes.
I was gonna say, it would serve not only us, but anybody else who's curious about this. to have a case study meeting, take something from even 16 years ago on how there was a maturation process. This thing got launched. I mean, I don't know. I think I often think of like whenever your first residency program came up, I'm sure that was innovative with respect to, you know, the traditional program. Sort of what were the steps? What kind of happened, right? You walk people through that journey and then they're like, okay, I see how this would be then eventually folded into something that we're all comfortable with.
I think that's a really good idea. We've tried to find the history of some of this, and Tim has been requesting all sorts of archived documents. And that we're kind of at a dearth of information, but yeah, absolutely going forward, that's what we need to do is to document that.
Sorry, microfilm maybe back there.
Can I ask, I know sometimes some of these things are IHE only, but would this potentially be open to county offices?
I don't see why not.
Nothing I've read in
The ed code is pretty open, I think.
Yeah.
It says we must have these experimental standards.
Not always.
And partners.
Not always the case for county
And
offices.
then it could be partnerships too, right? Innovative partnerships.
Yeah.
One thing, so this experimental program would still need to meet the preconditions, the common standards.
I thought I'd only had to meet the experimental standards.
We are
apparently-
proposing that, and this is a proposal, that it still meet the preconditions and the common standards. We need to know where this fits with, I mean, what kind of support is the institution giving it, just like any other credential in terms of resources, faculty qualifications, all of those things. Preconditions, it may be something we have to reconsider because some of them may not apply. The ones that are candidate based probably do, but I don't know about, it could, we might want to rethink that preconditions part of it.
If there's something in law.
Yeah, if it's something in law.
regulations, we don't
Yeah.
have the authority to leave them.
Right.
So those things might have to be applied.
Yeah, like candidates having completed subject matter. We couldn't waive that.
Yeah.
For the intern support requirements, which are
Exactly.
conditions and regulations.
Yeah.
Except that they wouldn't be, well, they could be, I guess, proposing an experimental intern program.
But
If
the
they would-
regulations, I think, do dictate what the minimum requirement is for support hours for interns, and it's also.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is if they don't call it a experimental intern program, then they don't have to meet the intern requirements.
Yep.
Right.
So you're saying we have to have a third level, so we have to have preconditions, common standards, and then these standards on top of it?
Yes. Except preconditions, I'm putting a little caveat there because I think it would depend, because preconditions are a mishmash of different ed code sections or commission policies. So I think the ones that apply to candidates particularly support, the ones that are in ed code or regs, I think we'd have to still do. There might be some in there that would not necessarily have to apply, but we'd have to go back and look.
It's a true experimental program, though. You think that you would uphold these standards. And yes, ones that apply, but like the common standard, you would think that these would replace like the standards, since the institution's already doing the common standards and everything for their regular programs.
Well,
That begs an interesting question. Does an institution have to be approved?
yes. Yes, it would have to be a program
yeah.
sponsor.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
this
it
is in
has to.
addition
We could
to
add
not-
that to be very clear.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the common standards, I think, are what that word is. It's common. Like it has to be, there has to be something threaded throughout. And so just like there's 3 levels for any program, preconditions, common standards, program standards, these are the program standard piece. They're just experimental. This stays, it's just this one piece that's going to be experimental. But how, like Francis and Hart created that guidance chart for preconditions, maybe on the guidance chart, it could say for experimental programs, this does not apply.
Good point.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
that
a
could
good
work.
idea.
Mhm.
Not that I got to the next agenda item on preconditions. That could be where it would fall when we have that report in June.
Yeah, yeah. That makes sense.
Do we want to go to the next agenda item?
Yes.
Because the next agenda item is item 21, which is discussion of preconditions, which will be presented in June. So, it's a fast agenda item. Maybe it's all timing.
Wrap up on this one, so, I think I hear what you're saying. We'll go back and add some different things here. We'll bring it back again in June and we'll keep playing with it until you guys are comfortable. Because we do need to update what's on our website, which is really cool. So, sorry, I just wanted to.
No, and I think it aligns nicely, so maybe that could be lumped together in the agenda items, whichever one makes sense first, because we're going to discuss teacher induction preconditions and experimental program preconditions potentially. I think they kind of, right now, that's a little bit of commonality.
And the discussion in June on the preconditions for teacher induction is a discussion item.
All right, are we done? That's good.
I don't know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Reed.
But for item number 21, there's not a action item in June for preconditions. Possibly, or just discussion.
I think right now it's gonna be a discussion. Yeah. I could put it as info action because that gives you the option to do either. That's usually our safer bet if we've been able to put this together closely.
So just in the possibility that you get to a good place that this group may feel that it's an action item, is a possibility of an action item.
Yeah, and the action item would be mostly to kind of endorse the concept because really the preconditions are the purview of the commission. So.
That help. Is any other questions on? So then public comment is our second to last item, opening for public comment. As a reminder, the COA may not discuss any topics presented during this item as they have not been publicly noticed. Does any member of the public have anything it wishes to say? Please raise your hand in the Zoom feature, or we will wait a moment to see if we have anyone indicating they wish to speak in the chat function. As a reminder, public comments are limited to only 2 minutes. No public comments. So at this time, having no further business, I adjourn the April 2026 Committee on Accreditation. The next meeting of the committee will be a virtual meeting held on Tuesday, June 16th, 2026. Thank you, everyone. Safe travels.
Thank you.
How come Chair McGee doesn't get a gavel?